Do you ever have those moments where you meet someone and you realize it feels like you've known them for years and years? That was the way that I felt the first time that I interviewed Dale Smith Thomas. Within seconds, I understood that we understood each other. I love the way that Dale helps for companies, women to wake up each and every day and choose language that helps them to meet their challenges and manage change. She helps companies and people cultivate visions of what success looks like to them, not for anyone else, which is so important for all of the entrepreneurs listening today. Success has to be something that you want to create in your life. One of the ways that we hold ourselves back very often is that we have negative attitudes and we don't believe that we can accomplish things. But when we identify our problems and empower our solutions and continually ask ourselves, is this really what I want in my life? It sets us up for not just success in business, but success within our relationships. Most importantly, it sets us up for success with a powerful relationship with ourselves. Arguably, the most important relationship that we will ever create is the one with ourselves. I don't think that we can ever be authentically healthy if we don't genuinely reclaim the joy and the peace within our life that allows us to truly love ourselves on every single level, where even the suggestion that self-care is not worth it falls to the wayside, where even the suggestion that you're not worth making this amount of money or that amount of money, it falls to the wayside because we know that we have the ability to invest in ourselves on a regular basis in small increments that help us to go forward and to craft the lives of our dreams. In this week's episode, it is my honor to interview my new soul sister, Dale Smith Thomas, about her work in helping you to make the best choices that empower your health, your relationship, your parenting skills, and your business. After that, I am going to talk you through some of the things that I do whenever I feel like I am stuck and just can't get anything accomplished, or I'm frustrated, or I'm scared, or I'm worried, or I'm fretting. All of those things. In those moments where we feel stuck, there is a choice to be made to stay stuck or get unstuck. Let's get to the show. Welcome to the Lindsey Elmore Show, a podcast that helps you find fulfillment amidst chaos. On this show, I interview thought leaders, doctors, creatives, spiritual gurus, and game changers who inspire you to pursue your dreams, overcome obstacles, and leave your mark. Dale Smith Thomas is a top-rated international professional speaker and author who travels the world sharing a message of hope and empowerment. Through her direct and powerful messages, Dale has inspired thousands of audiences around the world to take 100% responsibility for the results that they have created within their own life. She is the president of Winners by Choice, and through her work as a personal development expert, she is often recognized from one of her many national television appearances. She has been a featured guest on The Dr. Phil Show, The Big Idea on CNBC, and featured in a documentary on the Travel Channel and even appeared on a Fox reality show. She is a sought-after speaker who has shared her messages to a variety of different groups around the world and is a thought leader and, importantly, a storyteller that pulls from her own life challenges to encourage and inspire audiences to make actionable plans in both their personal life and their professional life. Dale is a graduate of Mississippi State University, a fellow Southern girl like me, although I'll say roll tide, sister. And
oh, I'm a roll tider too. That's awesome.
That's why we're friends already.
That's right.
She lives in Nashville and is often called the Hope Doctor by her audience. Dale Smith Thomas, welcome to the Lindsey Elmore Show.
Girl, I didn't know you were SEC. I am so excited to hear that you're part of this. For those that don't understand, Southeastern Conference. So we're talking football in college right now. So a big Southern hug to you, Lindsey.
Absolutely. I know. I'm from next door. I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, and have a degree from the University of Alabama, Birmingham. So we have been just neighbors for longer than we can know, you know?
Right. That's automatic soul sisters because our borders of our states touch. So we've got Southern roots that run deep. And as you were talking about stories, every Southern woman has got stories that run deep. So let me go back to the Dr. Phil thing. First story, I was not a guest. I was a guest expert. I always forget to put that out there. I love Dr. Phil, but there is a big difference.
Between being like the person that needs the counseling versus the person that gives the counseling?
Yes, girl. Yes.
I hear that. I was offered to be a guest on another show, but it was the same thing. They wanted me as a guest and not a guest expert. And I'm like,
exactly.
Yes. So, well, I could tell from the moment that we started chatting and that I heard your accent, I was like, we are going to get along. So, how did you go from small town girl somewhere in Mississippi to being an author and a professional speaker? What was that journey like?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, it was Route 3 Box 89, Eupora, Mississippi. It is a map dot in North Mississippi.
In Coral, Mississippi?
Eupora, Eupora. It's about 30 miles from Starkville, about 2,000 people in town, and mom and daddy were 10 miles out in the country. I lost my sweet daddy about 3 weeks ago.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
He graduated at age 85, so we had him for 85 years, but he's why I have my name. And I teasingly tell people I grew up with this horrible low self-esteem in North Mississippi. We didn't have a lot of money. I lived out on a farm. I had a man's name. I have been solicited by the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marines, everything. I was admitted to college at Mississippi State as a guy. I thought it was fabulous. Going to put you in the boys' dorm if you have a guy's name. And girlfriend, if you're Southern, you know your mama's always looking for you a husband, whether you're looking for one or not.
Oh, a lot of girls go to college to get that MRS degree.
I did, and it did not work out for me. But I grew up very, very poor in this part of the world, and I never believed that I would be out of there. It's a fabulous community. And I loved when we had my daddy's service 2 weeks ago. You see that close-knit community. But I didn't have a vision of success. I didn't have a vision of what I was going to do. My mother was hoping I'd get a husband and get married. It wasn't working out. So I decided to be the first person in my family to go to college.
Wow.
And the reason I got to go to college is because we didn't have the money, but an elderly woman in my county, she and her husband, when they passed away, they had no children. They left all of the timber rights on their property as a scholarship fund.
Oh, wow.
For any child in Webster County to go to college free. Now, all these years later, it's put over $100 million in education. So I say that to tell all of you, you never know what seed you're planting.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. I did not know her personally. She has no idea that one decision now took this little girl who lived below the poverty level in Eupora, Mississippi. I got an education at Mississippi State, and now I've gone on to do this. But one of the life-changing moments for me, my best friend and piano, who became my best friend, she was my piano teacher, was crippled in a car accident at age 11 and told she would never walk again. But because of her faith and her belief and so many things that happened, she went on to be Miss America.
Oh, wow.
And so
Who
that
was
was my
that?
first,
Okay.
that was Cheryl Pruitt in the early 80s.
Yes.
And so that was my first, like, oh, the impossible can be possible if we have faith and we believe and we try. And so through the years, I just started retraining my brain, honestly, because I was the girl that said, I can't. I was the girl with the low self-esteem. I was the girl with an eating disorder in my early 20s, trying to figure out, trying to figure out where I belonged and what I was supposed to do. And I had no clue who I was. And as I started to retrain my brain and really get into the inner space and find myself, I realized that other women probably were struggling with the same journey. I entered Mrs. Tennessee for 3 years, finally won in 1990, ended up representing the state of Tennessee at Mrs. America. And listen to this. I was a married child. I was a married girl. I had a 3-year-old. It is a different experience when you're competing with a 3-year-old. And honestly, Lindsey, I had started speaking during my year and realized that I felt like this was my calling, not just something I wanted to do, but it was my calling. But I decided that I needed to win the big sparkly hat, Mrs. America, in order to have a platform. Girl, I didn't even make the top 10. And I'm like, oh, wonder what I'm going to do now. But I decided that nobody's opinion of me was going to defeat me. It could either defeat me or define me. And I decided that opinion would define me, and I would share with anyone that would listen to the ability to have hope, to have a dream, to change your mind, to change all those negative things. And so I started my career in 1990 and speaking to one person at a time, and now it's taken me around the world. So that's a long answer to say I came from zero belief and not really believing anything was possible to just living the dream life, honestly.
Okay, so we really are sisters because number one, my next interview today, I'm interviewing Miss America.
You are?
Awesome. I know. I'm interviewing the current Miss America. Camille, I feel like is going to be a sister too because, I mean, come on. She's also a pharmacist like me. She's also a Southern girl. And her talent was to do a science experiment on stage. She is I know. And so I also was brought up in the pageant system. So I wanted to do it when I was young, but my mom she didn't want me to be a pageant girl. But she told me you can always be in your school's pageant. And then when I was in college, I was Miss UAB and I competed in the Miss Alabama system. And I think it is so undervalued.
Oh, thank you.
The skill sets that you gain. I mean, right now, I am reviving a book. So back in the day, my social impact initiative, my platform was hands-on science for children. Well, right now, in the middle of all of this everything of schools being closed down, I'm gravely concerned about science education for children.
Absolutely.
And so guess what? I revived the book that I wrote while I was competing to be Miss Alabama and am going to put it out there as a fundraiser, working with a NASA engineer and a couple of other powerful female scientists and saying, hey, let's do something positive in this moment of confusion and uncertainty. And let's be sure that we're putting positive vibes out there into the universe because goodness knows somebody's got to. So
somebody has to.
Yes. And so, I completely agree. The skill sets that you gain when you compete in pageants the speaking engagements alone, the confidence building, all of the things. It was an irreplaceable experience for me, and I would not have traded it for the world. So you are all about staying positive and motivated all throughout crises. And we are in the midst of arguably the biggest crisis that's ever happened in the history of the world.
Right.
And it just seems to constantly be getting worse. Like every day just seems to be getting worse. So what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, you were at events and doing things. What are you doing right now to stay positive and motivated and get the message out?
Well, I'm going to be really, really transparent with you because, you know, my work, my career and my calling is out on the road, speaking to live engagements. And my calendar, my company, Winners by Choice, was set up to have one of my biggest years ever out on the road. I do a lot of work in healthcare. As you mentioned, I'm considered the hope doctor, and I believe hope is helping other people excel. And that's why I believe that they tagged me with that. But overnight, my business went from full calendar to zero. Zero.
Know that feeling.
Because everybody canceled everything. And honestly, for the first couple of days, I'm like, okay, you know, character building. And then as the dates canceled further and further out, I will be honest with you, there were a couple of days, 24 hours, 48 hours, I just sat there and cried because I had to feel it. And, you know, honestly, through any crisis in our life, the only way out is through. And we have to understand that, especially in crisis, that fear is a reaction and courage is a decision. And my reaction is, what do I do? My fear was kicking in that my business was over. And we talked about this before we started. You know, I had to make a decision to be courageous to start trying to do things virtually. And so here's what I've done, Lindsey. One of the things that I've done always, even when my calendar is full, is that I have a morning hour of power routine, and I have not changed it. I am up every day, even though I don't have to be to get on an airplane. I am up every day still at 5 o'clock.
Ugh. I'm so
I know, girl,
jealous
you
right
may
now.
not be my friend anymore, but that's okay. To each his own.
I thought we
But
were on
that's
the same
that's my
wavelength,
hour.
Dale. I did.
She loved me until that moment. But that's my comfort place. That's my quiet place. So I have coffee, I am reading, I am journaling, which people go, ugh, journaling, I am meditating, and I'm keeping that same prescription for hope going. Also, what I am also doing is I am limiting my news. What I found myself doing in the afternoon when I'm home, cooking earlier, turning on the television to watch the local news to get the weather. Local news turns into nightly news, national news, which turns right back into local news. And before I know it, I've logged an hour and a half of news and not even paying attention. And then again at 10 o'clock, news is back on. And so I realized, because I believe that what you feed your soul is coming out of your mouth. It's determining your attitude and your energy. And so I told myself, you've got to start paying attention and cut it. And so I cut it off. And I've also done the same thing with social media. If I'm seeing the negative, I'm saying either to all of you, I'm gently, lovingly asking you, if you can't give it up, cut it in half. Cut it in half. Because you would not eat Oreos every day and expect to be healthy. You cannot put that much negativity in your soul and expect to grow through this time of great uncertainty with positivity, faith, and hope if all you're ingesting is fear, doubt, uncertainty, and unbelief.
Absolutely. I did the exact same. I used to get up every morning, and part of my morning routine was I actually loved listening to a short 10 to 12 minute long news podcast. And I had to turn it off because I started to realize this doesn't make sense. Wait, no, that also doesn't make sense. No, that also makes no sense. And when I couldn't make sense of the science, I started to get extraordinarily frustrated. And then when all the regulations started, and I was like, wait, guys, that doesn't make sense. That's not evidence-based. That's not something that is based in fact. And I also went a step further, and I uninstalled Facebook from my phone. Because
good for you.
I realized that I was in two camps. I had feet on both sides. My Instagram following and my friends, we're all sitting back going, hey guys, this doesn't make sense. We should take a look at this and evaluate this. But my friends and family from Alabama, they're just like, it's hook, line, and sinker. We have to do every single thing. We buy into the fear. We buy into the politicalization. We buy into, if you're not doing social distancing correctly, then unfriend me, blah, blah, blah. And I just was like, you know what? No, no. And I have not logged into that Facebook account in over 2.5 weeks. And it has been the greatest blessing. I still have my Facebook business page, but that's my business. That's my company.
Right, me too.
It's got a business message, but I eliminated voices that were saying things that made my blood pressure go up and made my blood boil and made me want to argue with people. It's been the greatest blessing just to say, no, I'm not going to buy into that.
And what I love about that is what I think most people don't do. You were paying attention. And one of the first things that I ask people to do when I step on a stage is say, I need you to do one thing for me right now. I need you to be here. Be here. Be here. Be right here in this moment. And especially women, ladies, I am preaching to you because this is me. This is my friend Lindsey, and especially every woman in the South. We are the greatest multitaskers in the world. And when women are in my audience, I'll go, the reason I'm telling you to be here is because you've already left the conference, gone to the grocery store, made dinner, put the kids to bed, and you're already worried about the meeting you're going into tomorrow. And so I think we get on automatic pilot and we don't stop in this moment and pay attention to what has our attention. Mm-hmm. You have to pay attention. And so if the negativity is pulling you, you've got to stop and say, time out. And I believe, we've been put in a worldwide timeout. And yes, I have a phys ed degree from Mississippi State. Yes, I was looking for a husband, truth known. And so, but I understand athletics. When the game gets out of control, you've got to call a timeout and you've got to refocus and you've got to redirect and you've got to get a new game plan. So if you're feeling all this frustration and this negativity, you got to step back and say, what is getting my attention? Mm-hmm. And how can you change it? And you've got to change your input, which is exactly what you did, Lindsey. You started cutting the input because it was affecting the output. And we don't pay attention to that with our souls. Just like with our computers, if you put it in there, you can go find it.
Right.
So watch what you're putting in. And that's why people are listening to you now. And that's why they're reaching to you, because we need encouragement and we need tools and we need guidelines on how to reverse that.
Absolutely. And I so agree with you. I cannot tell you how many times I've been on stage and I just say, I double dog dare you not to pick up your phone while I am on stage. Because if you are filming or taking a photo of a slide deck, you're not listening.
Nope.
You're not processing. You're not. Because even though women think we're good at multitasking doesn't work. It's not how our brains are built. So yes, we need to take a really clear-cut look about what we're bringing into us, because that controls our ability to manage our own emotions. So
absolutely.
Tell me more about your book. It's called Good Morning Gorgeous, which I absolutely love the title of it, because all people are inherently gorgeous. And so what is the messaging behind your book?
Oh, it's got such a funny story. And yes, I will tell it. Because I speak to all different kinds of audiences. I do a lot of corporate work and then also a lot of women's specific work. And so a lot of times with the women's specific work, I can say, tell stories that I don't tell when it's just a corporate audience. And one of the things I had found though for myself is how I start the day mentally rolls out into the rest of the day. It ripples out. It's like dropping the rock in the pond in my daddy's backyard on our farm. You drop the rock, it ripples out, but you get to choose the rock you drop. And so I started asking people, how are you starting your day? I started paying attention, and when you ask somebody, how are you? Their automatic response, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine. They don't even think about it. It's just automatic. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking about how women start the day. So I was in front of an audience somewhere, I don't know where. It's like 500 or 600 women. It was a hospital event for the community. But it was a women's specific event. It was a nighttime event. And so I just got up that night and said, okay, I need to get a pulse on where we are here. How many of y'all got up this morning, looked in the mirror and went, ooh, good morning, gorgeous. Now, there were two random men in the back of the room who raised their hands. And I'm like, of course you did, because every man in America has a better self-esteem than the women. I tell people all the time, if I say to my husband, you look good in that suit, he does not turn around and ask me, does it make his butt look big? It just never happens. And so I told these women, I went, y'all looked in the mirror and went, oh, good Lord, what happened?
I know.
So I said, okay, we've got a challenge today. Tomorrow morning, I want you to say out loud in the mirror to yourself, good morning, gorgeous, because if you woke up today, there's something beautiful and gorgeous inside you that the mirror is not reflecting. It's your spirit, but you have to identify it and you have to honor it. So they agreed to do that. Then I said, you have to reach out to 5 people tomorrow. Text, email, phone call, in the grocery store, don't care. You say, good morning, gorgeous, to 5 people tomorrow. Let's commit. 600 women in this group committed to that. The next day, I get a call from the physician's recruiter. She was this adorable little girl, little woman, and she calls me. She's whispering because she's on the corporate hall in the hospital. She said, Dale. I'm like, no, I don't know why I whispered back. What? And she said, the spirit of Dale is in our hospital today. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, girl, my door is open. There are women. They're walking down the hall. They're saying, good morning, gorgeous. Good morning, gorgeous. She said, girl, you don't understand. These hate each other.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, but for today, they're speaking life to each other. And so I share that story when I speak. And what has happened, I get email and text or social media that even after a year, people are taking that little phrase and they're saying it to each other. And then in a mixed audience, I'll say, good morning, champion. But it's the way we speak life to each other. So that was the reason, the title of the book. It took me 5 years to write that because I had gone through a divorce. I have a starter husband. That's the positive way to say X. Take that away. And I had gone through some really tough challenges. And those parts of the book were really hard to write. And I was scared of it. And as you know, because you've written and you know that it's safer in your computer. But I decided that if I really believed what I preach, that we all are brought to this planet with a gift that we're supposed to share, and that I was being extremely selfish, and that I had to write that book with that intent, and it would bless who it was supposed to bless, and I needed to let go of the rest.
Absolutely.
And I just can't even tell you how much feedback we've gotten with people who are finally looking within and not listening to somebody else's opinion of them, telling them, you know, they're to this or to that the opinion that matters is the one that comes from within.
Absolutely. The way that we talk to ourselves is so important. My friend Rosie taught me an amazing phrase. You know, if you are with a friend and they start saying like, oh, I look so fat today. I'm ugly today. I, can't stand that I made that mistake, that this or that, and whatever the negative self-talk is. She said she will stop people and say, don't talk about my friend that way. And
I love that.
And I have found myself saying it to myself. So if I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I didn't get all that makeup off my face last night and I got black streaks across my face, or if I look in the mirror and go, oh, this, this is not looking good today. Don't talk about my friend like that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
What's her name, Rosie?
Rosie Crescitelli, Wholehearted Rosie. Is you can look her
I
up.
will be quoting Rosie because I think that is fantastic. And you know what I say in the book is that we say things to ourselves that we would never say to our friends.
In a million years.
We would never. And, I turned 60 last summer. And so going through the decades and you find all these things to start really getting critical about yourself. But again, it's that pay attention moment. It's a journey that's going to last a lifetime, ladies. It's not, you're going to find this solid self-esteem and tomorrow it's going to be there again. Every single day you have got to work at believing in yourself and seeing the good in yourself and standing at the gate of word patrol, because those voices are in your head. They are talking. And the reality show was The Simple Life with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie. And I said to Nicole one day on camera, I am going to tape your mouth shut.
Just because she talked so bad about herself?
Oh my gosh, she was talking bad about everything. And, I thought, but that's what we're doing to ourselves. And I catch myself, and if you understand the whole eating disorder brain sometimes, I was an anorexic in my early 20s. And so even though I came through that healing process, I know what my triggers are. And I know when I start really getting critical of myself, where that critical spirit leads, and I have to stop it. So ladies, you are precious and special. You are unique. You are gorgeous inside and out. And we need you to stand up and claim that, because someone else needs to see you claim that so they can have the power to claim it in themselves.
I could not agree more. If women actually talked to ourselves the way that we talk to our friends and our daughters and our colleagues. And, I hate the concept that women are constantly in competition with each other.
I just can't stand it.
It's not true. I mean, you fill a void that I never could.
Right.
And I fill a void that you never could. And that can be said about every single person listening to this. So what do you think are the biggest challenges that women face, and how can we as individuals as well as a collective overcome them?
Okay, one of the things, and this is going to sound goofy and so simple, but I know you will get it. I think one of the things that women do, and I see it over and over again, something as simple as accepting a compliment. And I am telling you, ladies, because I was guilty a million times over. I still catch myself doing it. If somebody says, oh, I love your dress, I'm like, girl, I got that at TJ Maxx for $19. Now, if I say that because I want her to go find the deal at TJ Maxx, that's one thing, right? Which I'm a bargain shopper, and I am a self-proclaimed bargain shopper, and I love it. But if I'm not accepting that compliment because I don't feel good about myself and I don't think they're speaking the truth to me, that is disrespectful to the person that has given you the gift. If there is one thing I can say to women out there, will you please start saying thank you, whether you believe it or not. Yes. That's not your job. That is not your job to disagree with the gift that has been given to you. And if somebody said, here's your birthday gift, and you go, no, I don't want that. Nope, don't want that. Giving it back. Well, that's what you're doing when someone gives you a compliment. And I have seen it over and over, and I am guilty. People will call me out on it when I am doing it. But ladies, if you truly want to start to build this gorgeousness from the inside out, you have got to learn to say thank you and accept the gifts that you are given.
Life-changing advice. When I was first told this, I've met, how sometimes you meet people and you're like, I have known this person for many, many a lifetime. Like I've known
kind of like me and you.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know you already deep within my bones, and like I want to come and stay at your house, and you're welcome to come and stay at my house. Yes, like we get each other. I met a friend and then just instantly had that connection. Then I meet her daughter and instantly have that connection. And her daughter gives me a compliment, and I just kind of hem and haw, and I'm like, and she's like, what is that about? And called me out. And I was like, yes. I know, right? And I was like, I just don't know what to say when people give me a compliment. And she said, just say thank you. And it changed my life. It completely changed my life. And so now I can accept a compliment with ease, and it's just say thank you. It's completely life-changing advice. Okay, so what other tips for women do you have? Other challenges that we face, and what can we do?
Well, and one of the, now this is a practice. This is a daily practice, and I get more pushback on this probably than anything else I teach. And I can honestly say, probably in the 25 plus years I've been out there, there are very few people who will come back to me and tell me they've actually done this. So, and you're going, what is that? It's that whole journaling piece. Now, let me tell you why, ladies, this is important. Because a lot of this information, especially this negativity that gets in our head and our soul, runs like a hamster wheel. And whether it's if somebody said something to us that hurt our feelings or we're unsure about something, what I found for me, and the way I found it was through a counselor when I knew that my first marriage was not going to work. And she suggested a book to me, The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. It's right here in my bookshelf. It's been there since 1996. I go back every time I read it with a different highlighter color, make notes in a different highlighter color, because the words in the book are the same, but I am not. And what I read in 1996 and what I read now is different because I'm different. But if you will use that, take 15 minutes, that's all I'm asking you to do, and just get outside of you these things that are bringing you down. It's like you have to take the trash out in your house. Get this outside of you before you go. If you have somebody that's really irritating you, before you go jump into that conversation head on, put it out here on paper. And I'm going to tell you, you need to write it in longhand, because writing clarifies thought. That is scientifically based, not your computer, not your phone. Write it down in longhand and ask yourself, what do I need to know about this situation? And then trust yourself with what you hear. Your intuition is talking to you. It's a gift you were sent to this planet with. I think women have it. Men have it too, but women can tap into it. But if you don't get quiet and quieten all this chatter and get all this negativity out, it will not speak to you, because it's speaking, you won't hear it. But the journal clears the path. It gets you outside of it and ask yourself, what do my children need? What am I feeling right now? Why am I afraid of that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you just keep digging deeper. And I believe that's one of the most powerful tools out there. And if I wrote about it in the book, if you go back and you do the research, all of the great leaders of our time have talked about journaling.
Absolutely.
And it's yet so simple, but not easy.
Yeah, it is so simple. It's not easy. And I think a lot of people just don't know where to start. And if you don't know where to start with a journal, there's two different journaling activities that have served me really well. I worked with a Jungian analyst who's nice. a therapist, basically. And one of her requirements of working with her is you have to keep a daily dream journal. So
love it.
Waking up first thing in the morning and just writing down what you dreamt about. And then a lesson I learned from Oprah was Oprah has gone like 25 plus years and not missed a day on writing down 5 things she is grateful for.
Yeah, the gratitude.
A gratitude journal.
Yes.
And
yes.
so, and people say, well, I don't know what I'm grateful for. And I'm like, are you breathing? You got hair on your head and clothes on your back and a roof? You know, like those really important things to be grateful for. So Dale, I was digging through your blog and I found a turn of phrase that I had never heard before.
What?
You talk about the turn back moment. And a lot of the women listening here are entrepreneurs or either desire to be entrepreneurs. And I read this and I was like, wow, because you said it earlier, you faced a time when you were like, oh my God, is my company over? It's one of those turn back moments. So tell us what you mean about that and how we can face that fear and really dig in to that turn back moment and come out better on the other side.
Well, it's going to be almost exactly the same. First of all, you got to stop and pay attention instead of just trying to bulldoze your way through it and pretend like it doesn't exist. And you know, when I really started to realize that the relationship that I was in with my son's father was not going to be what I wanted it to be. We were not healthy together, but because I wouldn't truly face that moment where I knew that it was time to turn in a different direction, my body shut me down. And they thought I had thyroid cancer. And I developed a huge tumor in my throat because I know that I was not speaking up for myself. I was not facing my truth. And I was not walking that path to get healthy, both inside the relationship and then for my son. And so when we decided to go our separate ways, and we are great friends now, we've raised a great child, but you've got to stand in that fear again and get quiet in that moment and ask yourself the tough questions. And that's why I think the journal is so important. But let me say this, it has to be private and it has to be safe.
Yes.
Because so many times we're afraid somebody else is going to read it. Let me tell you this. Nobody should be reading your journals. It's a violation of your privacy. It's a violation of you, whatever you have to do to keep that safe. So wherever you are, if you're at one of those turn back moments, if you're at one of those moments where you say, kind of like I'm in the fork of the road and I'm not sure where I'm going, until you stop and make that dive into inner space, you're not going to know. Mm-hmm. And so I just ask you to get honest and be brave with yourself first, and then it will fall out from there.
Absolutely, it will. When you can face your most authentic self, the good, the bad, the
all of it,
the broken, you know, broken is where the light comes through. Broken is
it is.
Yes.
And what I had to face on the other side of getting out of that marriage was, had I been stronger, had I spoken my truth, had I had been more available for the dialogue, it might have made a different direction for us. But I am so grateful. My father just passed away, like I said, 2 weeks ago. My starter husband was there. He came because we were in our early 20s when we got married, and we have this beautiful relationship now that we've raised this. I have one child, Nick Thomas, the race car driver, and we have raised him together because I didn't pull forward all that negativity that I was feeling during that time, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
The Artist's Way gives you a guide on how to get this. She calls them morning pages. What she suggests is get up and write top of brain thought. Mm-hmm. Just whatever you think and write it down. If it's, I hate this and I hate journaling and I'm always going to hate journaling and my feet are cold right now, and if I have to write 3 pages, I am going to really scream right now. But she suggests doing that to just kind of uncork it.
Yep. Just do that
and
brain dump.
Don't read it. Don't read it for a few weeks and then go back. She was married to Martin Scorsese. Mm-hmm. And so that practice truly has changed my life. And I can tell you this, I like Oprah, I've missed very few days, but if I do miss it, it's like I have missed being in the gym or missed my coffee. It's like I feel something's off. Mm-hmm. It's off. And I'm like, wait, what's off? I jumped into something else today. I didn't take that time.
Yep. Well, Dale Smith Thomas, before I let you go, you ready for some lightning round questions?
Yes, do it.
Okay. What is your number one strength?
My number one strength, I believe, is empathy.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's empathy. I think it's being able to listen to someone and step out of the way and listen to them and let them know that they're not alone. Mm-hmm. And I believe that that's a strength that helps me both out on the road, professionally and personally.
What is the thing that you still struggle with the most?
Other than a pair of snow skis, because my family likes to ski.
Tore my ACL first time I ever skied. Nope, not doing
Listen, if I'm going to break a leg, it's going to be from the 5-inch heels, not the 4.
Hey,
so, My greatest challenge is sometimes my greatest strength. I think I am such a giver, and I love giving my time. I love giving my energy, but it also, I sometimes don't set that boundary, and I don't accept the gifts as much as I should. People say, well, here, let me help you. Oh, that's okay. The same thing as a compliment, but in a different way. So my giving sometimes goes too far out, and I have to pull it back and realize I can't keep doing what I do if I don't allow some of that to come back.
If you could give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Be brave. Get to know yourself earlier. I had this dream as a child because I knew nothing about speaking or anything. That back then it was, I just wanted to be on a soap opera. I wanted to be on television, but there are no calls for actresses out there in Newport, Mississippi. So I pushed that dream so far down that I couldn't even speak it. So when I'm sitting in the green room at the Dr. Phil show, I'm in tears, because I'm the little girl in North Mississippi whose daddy had to go out and turn the antenna just to get the channel.
Right.
Who would not dare to dream. Now one of my best friends has been on Young and Restless for 30 years. And I realized that if I could say to myself at 16, it's just be brave and get to know yourself.
Mm-hmm. What keeps you up at night?
Right now, what keeps me up at night is truly trying to figure out how to continue to share this message of hope and continue to be the hope doctor in this calling that I have in this new and different age. And it's uncomfortable for me. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it. And so we've started the Hope Doctors podcast. We're trying to get that up and going. I am having to lean in to those things, but I'm a girl who likes the personal interaction. I feel like when I'm on a stage, and I'm sure you feel this way too, it's a co-creative experience.
Absolutely.
Whatever I'm saying, and I may go this direction and I may go this direction, and somebody interacts and I go this direction. And so what's keeping me up at night is, again, to trust myself that I can do this. Mm-hmm. And so talking to you, you're an inspiration to me. So thank you. And you're an inspiration to me that I can do this, and I can continue to share this message in a different way.
You absolutely can. It's simply a different skill set. Speaking on stage is one thing. Speaking on a podcast is another thing. Delivering a live video is another thing. You just have to figure out those different speaker personalities, because they are dramatically different depending on the modality of how you're delivering the content. Who has been your greatest inspiration?
For years, and that continues to change, but I think my greatest information was my friend Cheryl, because without her in my life, I don't know when I would have witnessed someone willing to follow a dream. And the way I ended up here in Nashville, after she gave up her title as Miss America, I had graduated from Mississippi State. I'd moved to Memphis, which was crazy because I'd never driven on an interstate and decided to move to Memphis. I don't know why. And so she called me and said, hey, move to Nashville, go on the road with me. She was speaking and singing. And I said, I don't know anything about that. She said, I don't care, you know me. And so her inspiration and her teaching me about the belief system, and she was the first one that said, we're going to change the way you talk. We're going to change the way you talk to yourself. She was the one that in my face said, you know what? You're dealing with anorexia right now, and we're going to get a hold of this. So she was always my greatest inspiration. My greatest inspiration. We don't get to see each other much, but she always will be.
Oh, last but not least, God to you is?
God to me is love. I think that scripture seems so simple, but it is so true, that if we love each other, we love ourselves enough to listen and follow our calling. And that's what we all need right now. I believe that through love, with all the darkness in the world, the only way we can get rid of darkness is to turn on more light.
Absolutely.
And if we pause and we love each other and we step back and say, what can I do today to share a little hope, to share a little love, to speak life to someone?
Yeah.
That's what God is to me.
That just brought tears to my eyes. We only get rid of the dark by turning on the light. That is a perfect summary of everything that you bring to the world. The joy, the love, the hope, the life, all of it. Listeners, if you would like to get weekly motivation from Dale, all you have to do is text the word motivational to 66866, and that will get you a free subscription to get amazing turns of phrase like the only way that we get rid of the dark is by turning on the light. Dale Smith Thomas, thank you so much for being on the Lindsey Elmore Show.
Big hug to you.
I know, virtual hug. All right.
Virtual hug.
Yay.
Okay, we're going to have to make that a real hug. That's got to be our goal.
The sooner, the better, sister. Absolutely. So nice talking to you. Everybody go check out Dale Smith Thomas.
Lots of love.
Do you have big dreams but are unsure how to put them into action? Brand Strategies Lab is the place to turn your ideas into the nuts and bolts that you need to create, revitalize, or expand your brand. It is an online business training course that helps you decide who you are, what you sell, and who will buy it. It is hosted on a brand new social media platform called Channels. If you love Marco Polo, video chatting with your friends, or Snapchat, then you will absolutely love Channels. I created Brand Strategies Lab following more than 10 years of business coaching, mentorship, reading, and personal growth. Find out more and be the first to access this new training at www.lindseyelmore.com/BSL. That's www.lindseyelmore.com/BSL. When you are an entrepreneur, there are times that you can feel stuck. We all have moments where we fear, where we face anxieties, where we wonder if we really have the skills and talents to accomplish what we want to do. We worry about things. We fret about other things. Sometimes it can feel like fear takes over everything. It robs our ability from being able to work. It robs our ability to take care of ourselves. It steals our big dreams and forces our goals to grind to a halt. In these moments of fear, most people talk about fight or flight being the options that we have when we fear things. But there's also something else. There's fight, flight, or freeze. So when you face fear, not only in your business, but maybe in a relationship that's stressing you out, or perhaps you are struggling with your finances because you've lost a job, anytime that fear strikes, you may feel paralyzed. But we have a choice to intentionally get unstuck. So in this segment, I want to talk to you about some things that I've learned about getting unstuck when you feel like you just can't get going. The first thing is to move your body. Exercise releases endorphins, and this can help you to overcome emotional blocks. There's also evidence outside that when you exercise outside can do even more to shift the mental mindset. So go outside and do a few deep breaths. Raise your hands over your head. It does not have to be complicated exercise. It just has to be you moving your body. When you exercise, not only are you releasing endorphins, but you're also releasing brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is released, and these two brain chemicals in combination help you to feel euphoric. They promote feelings of happiness, and they can help you to fight off stress. Even beyond that, exercise helps to change your brain's plasticity. And more plastic brains have the ability to shift and change and be nimble versus getting into cycles of feeling stuck. More plastic brains mean that you are better able to learn and adapt and recall information effectively. So moving your body is one way that you can get unstuck. The next thing is just go to sleep. Just hang it up. Just realize that today is not the day that this is going to get accomplished, and give yourself permission to sleep. Why? Well, lack of sleep is one of the absolute worst possible things that you can do to your body. And we don't exactly know why. We honestly don't know exactly why we have the need for sleep. What we do know is that when we sleep, our brain shifts from day-to-day activities to archiving memories, creating connections between the information packets in your brain. And it also processes and eliminates toxins, not only from your central nervous system, but your body as a whole. Following a good night's sleep, a task that seemed impossible yesterday, all of a sudden can be very, very doable. It's a simple and easy approach to getting unstuck. Next, meditate. Goodness knows this is one of my go-tos that I use on the regular. When I don't feel inspired to get a project done, just sit down and imagine that the project is already done. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And you may find that it feels like anxiety. It feels like nerves. If you are facing nerves when you envision the projects that you want to do, in my opinion, you're on the right path. You're on the right path because it means that you have big goals and big dreams, and that you're not limiting yourself to just like, oh, I'm just going to do the same old, same old. That's not what we want. As entrepreneurs, we have to push the envelope and realize that if we're really going to be successful, we have to acquire new skill sets. We have to have a new, meaningful way to talk to ourselves about, okay, yes, I'm scared. Yes, I'm nervous, but I still have the ability to accomplish this. Seeing things to completion makes it easier to get going. When you don't meditate regularly, you don't have a strong ventromedial prefrontal cortex. Instead, when you have those connections that are in the lateral prefrontal cortex, so when you meditate, you don't have as much going on here, you have more here. And this allows you to process information more rationally and also helps us to better deal with stress, anxiety, and dangers. We also know that when we meditate on the regular, these connections in our lateral prefrontal cortex help us to increase empathy and compassion. And best of all, with as little as 15 minutes a day, you can make all of these changes in your brain. And so the next time you feel stuck, just sit for a couple of moments in quiet meditation. Next up, pray. Just pray. If you don't have faith in yourself to be able to pull through a difficult situation or overcome an obstacle, you better place your faith in something else. Praying can help you gain perspective or help you to realize that the problems that you're facing are not really as big as they may seem. I love the combination of prayer and meditation. John Maxwell said that prayer is talking to God, and that meditation is listening for the answers. And so if you feel like you need a few answers, cast it out to the universal power. Call it God, call it spirit, call it universe, whatever it is. I know it's been a huge comfort in my life to always have the understanding that there's something bigger than me out there, because I know that my overall existence in the grand scheme of the world is relatively small, and that's okay. That's okay. That helps me. Even though I reach a lot of people and talk to a lot of people, I know that I'm just one piece of a greater piece of humanity. So praying can help you gain perspective. It also can help focus your mind on the blessings that you actually have in your life. Instead of focusing on like, oh, woe is me, I don't have this, I don't have that. What if you took a moment to just be like, oh my gosh, I am so grateful for these 10 things right now. And focusing on the blessings in your life and asking for guidance for how your gifts can impact others can provide you with some really powerful motivation, because you focus in on your purpose and you focus in on like what it is you do that makes you who you are. You can also just jam out to your favorite song. So get going. And I know one of the things for me, as with a lot of highly productive people, I can spend a 6-hour workday with the same song on repeat, just over and over, because it gets me in that rhythm. It gets me in that zone. I remember at one point when I was working, and I was in event production, and I had this huge event on my plate that I was in charge of the entire production of it. I must have listened to the song High Roller by Crystal Method 1,000 times over the course of that month, and just keeping reminding myself, like, we got it. We got it. And it really helped me not only to just feel like, okay, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. I got to keep doing this. I got to keep working. But it also really helps move past emotional and creative blocks. So music helps to lower your brain frequency. And this allows you to create the best possible scenario for learning new information, performing elaborate tasks, learning new languages, and analyzing complex information. So crank out some classical music, dance around to Confident by Demi Lovato. Goodness knows I have listened to that song more than a few times in my life. And again, just maybe consider having some more meditative kind of chants going that really help to change your brainwave frequency. Here's another thing. Sometimes you have to just start. I find that so many people get into analysis paralysis, and they get into like, well, if it's not perfect, then it's not okay. Listen, if you don't look back in 5 years and go, if you don't chuckle at yourself about the work that you did 5 years ago, you're not challenging yourself. You're not growing. You should look back a year from now and be like, that was good, but I want to do it better. So start. One small action can get you on a roll. Studies have shown that the simple act of making your bed every morning can reduce levels of depression. And that's because one accomplishment leads to another accomplishment. And this helps to increase our confidence that we can accomplish all of our goals. Starting with one thing is also a great way to prevent being overwhelmed. When you need to get past the stuck, start. That is what you have to do. Just start. Get over your need for perfectionism and just begin. We all get stuck. Success, in part, is how quickly you get unstuck and how you allow those stucks to impact your mental health. Remember, it's like Angela Duckworth says in her book, Grit. You have to have significant passion. Malcolm Gladwell contends that we need to spend at least 10,000 hours dedicated to our craft to become any good at it. But the second part is perseverance. So the next time that you get stuck, remember that the most successful people are not only passionate, but they persevere over every problem. The Lindsey Elmore Show is written and produced by me, Lindsey Elmore. Show segments are produced by Sue Procco and Kelsey Lorman. Production design, sound design, and editing is by Jive Media. If you have a question about this or any other episode of the podcast, send us an email to hello@lindseyelmoreshow.com. And hey, since you're still here, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And while you're at it, go over and follow us on Instagram @Lindsey Elmore Show. This helps us bring the pod to more people.